started with the meeting. Call to order the meeting, the monthly meeting for the New Orleans Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation for Tuesday, February 11th. Attendance: Keisha Turquie, Tim McConnell, present. Chris Hammond,
Present.
Mark Heck, absent. Tanya Criddle, absent. Roger Watkins,
Present.
Wendy Washington,
Present.
Ryan Banks. Forum will proceed. Does anyone on the board have any amendments they want to offer to the agenda? Hearing none, I'd like a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as published. Second, Watkins.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, presentation of the agenda. So approval of the meeting minutes from January 14th. Everybody, I'm sure, reviewed them. The only thing I saw that I'd like to correct it is on item 1, on the action items, it said anyone wishing to serve on any committee. It really was the executive committee, the executive or board committee. So that should just change to the executive committee, which now is taking place. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Actual committee assignments will get visited once the new executive board is in place after next meeting. So I'd like a motion to approve the amended, the minutes for January 14th as amended.
So moved.
Second by Chris Hammond, second by Banks. All those in favor, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have a resolution to enter into a CEA with the Friends of West End to receive $50,000 for the rehabilitation of the Darlington Fountain. I'll read that. Whereas the New Orleans Municipal Yacht Harbor is a public benefit corporation of the City of New Orleans, which leases from the city its property rights at West End and is responsible for the management, maintenance, and improvement of the harbor and related facilities. And whereas the Friends of West End is a community-based organization dedicated to the preservation, restoration, and enhancement of West End and its historical features. And whereas the Municipal Yacht Harbor and Friends of West End seek to collaborate on the rehabilitation of the Darlington Fountain in West End Park to restore its historical and aesthetic value for public enjoyment. And whereas Friends of West End has committed to providing financial contribution of $50,000 to the Municipal Yacht Harbor for the purpose of funding the rehabilitation efforts, including but not limited to restoration work, structural repairs, and aesthetic enhancements. And whereas in furtherance of this shared objective, the Municipal Yacht Harbor and Friends of West End intend to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement to define their respective roles, responsibilities, and contributions towards the rehabilitation of the Darlington Fountain. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Municipal Yacht Harbor hereby authorizes its Executive Director to negotiate, finalize, and execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Friends of West End on behalf of the Municipal Yacht Harbor in accordance with applicable laws, regulations, and Municipal Yacht Harbor governing policies for the purpose of facilitating the rehabilitation of the Darlington Fountain in West End. And be it further resolved that the Board of Directors authorize the Executive Director to take all necessary actions to implement the terms of the cooperative endeavor agreement, including coordinating with relevant stakeholders, overseeing the use of funds, and ensuring compliance with all applicable requirements. The undersigned certifies that they are duly appointed and qualified Secretary of the Municipal Yacht Harbor, a corporation duly formed and operating pursuant to the laws of the state of Louisiana, and that the foregoing resolution was duly adopted by the Board of Directors at a meeting on the 11th day of February 25th in compliance with state law and the corporation's bylaws. I, as authorized by the corporation, hereby certify and attest that all the information is true, and that will be signed by our Secretary, Dr. Tripp.
Tim, there was one small edit that didn't make it to the print for some reason. On the fourth whereas, it says that we added a line after aesthetic enhancements with an estimated budget of $100,000.
Okay, so like a motion to amend the resolution as it was published, to add that line. Brian, read it one more time for us.
After aesthetic enhancements is be amended to say, comma, with an estimated budget of $100,000.
Okay. Motion motion by Banks to accept the amendment,
Second.
second by Hammond. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment, resolution? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So now we have an amended resolution.
Are we allowed to ask a question?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'd like a card to put in if you don't mind, but that's
Quite a long. And the other thing I'm asking is, if they can't do it for 100,000, are we not gonna start until we get a proposal that's within the 100,000? Because I don't know if they can do it for $100,000.
We don't either, but no, I will say the answer to that is no, because we are planning to take this money and start doing some work on the preservation of it regardless, which is cleaning it, painting it, to stop infiltration of water and stuff that's currently causing it to deteriorate further, although it's been a long time. So there'll be some of that being done while the Friends continue to try and raise more money. And I think realistically, like everything I've ever been involved in the process, it probably will be more. But nobody's anticipating it to be millions like we did originally. You know, we had a price up years ago that was going to be in the millions. So Friends of West End is continuing to try and raise more funds, and hopefully we'll get there for a reasonable cost. And another, I'm sorry, I try to stay in order here, maybe real quick. So let's get the motion. Before we take any questions, I should have held you off, I apologize. So I need a motion to accept the resolution. If we don't do this, then we might not have any discussion.
Before you accept the resolution.
No, you have a motion for the resolution, then you have discussion before you vote on it. It has to be motioned and seconded, and a discussion. Okay, so a motion on the resolution, to accept the resolution. Because if we don't accept it, there won't be any discussion.
That's fine.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the amended resolution.
There's only three.
Motion by Chris
Round
Hammond.
number, you know.
Second by Ryan Banks. Okay, discussion. Board, anybody have any comments on the resolution right now? All right, now, we've heard comments from somebody in the audience now.
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna say is that
From
we
Corky.
need to put in, we
From
need
Corky Fox.
bricks and
Rick,
bricks.
I'm sorry, Rick.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
Rick.
I filled out a
Rick-
card, I
Rick
just didn't
Sinclair.
give it to anybody.
That's fine. The point is, somebody's got to make mint from this.
I understand, I fully understand.
Okay, got it. Rick
If we're
Sinclair.
gonna do this, we need to also put in place at the same time a maintenance budget, because as seen by the Mardi Gras fountain, these things are very expensive to maintain. And it takes a lot of expertise to maintain any kind of water system, pumps, valves, you know, all these things that you wouldn't think about when you're involved in this. So my point being, we need to start putting together a plan to maintain it and a budget to maintain it, but also when you're renovating it, you got to put that in advance in your thought process. What is it that we're going to maintain? If you're going to try and make it something very expensive again, the dancing and the lights, all that is very expensive to maintain. Or we're just going to make it a nice, pleasant fountain again that won't be quite as expensive. Because I'm looking long term at it. Because if it breaks, you know, you spend a hell of a lot of money for nothing. You know, so it's just something that needs to be put into this proposition. And these numbers are just so arbitrary, 50,000, 100,000. I mean, I remember years ago, we got a bid over $500,000.
Got a bid for 3 million.
3 million, there you go, for doing, so, you know, we're nowhere near close to that. So it's a matter of, somebody needs to oversee what they call a renovation.
Let me clarify. Wasn't a bid, but it was an estimate from
Yeah,
somebody who restores historic fountains.
I remember that.
But realistically, and as a, I don't know, I go to my previous life, I was both a firefighter, but I was also a plumber. And so I went across that little head thing, so, you know, I'm not saying I know what it's gonna cost, but it's nowhere near 3 million in my opinion. And the Friends of West End has been doing some serious homework with contractors on trying to figure out where it's gonna go, because they're gonna try and raise money for it. I looked over at Chris and kind of winked when you were talking, because we had a conversation earlier today, he brought up that exact thing. So part of the CEA that our executive director will negotiate will take in those kind of things.
Right, just make sure they don't go overboard on what they're gonna do that has to be maintained.
Yeah,
the road.
can't maintain,
You know,
very valid point that, board member
I
Hammond
mean,
brought up.
I fixed the Bellagio's fountains in Las Vegas. I know what those cost to fix. All the computers
All right,
and the.
any other comment, cards? All right, board members, anybody, anything they want? Yeah? All right, so Brian, you heard that, right? And it's quite, that's probably one of the things you want to cover. All right, so we have a motion on the floor, we had discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Motion approved. All right, next is the report on the nominating committee. We had one person for each position, and they were myself for president, Chris Hammond for vice president, Roger Watkins for treasurer, and Wendy Washington for secretary. So that will lay over till the next meeting, and then we'll vote on the executive board at that meeting. There are other bylaws allowed for nominations from the floor, if anybody so interested. But next meeting, we'll vote on that. Also, at the next meeting, we will talk about filling the different committee positions, the other committees that we have. So if anyone's interested in remaining with their current position, committee position, or switching to another one or adding another one, please contact someone on the current executive board. Appreciate it. Email me or you can notify Brian, but that's what we'll be doing at the next meeting. All right. Brian, do we need a motion to accept the nominations?
This is a report.
It's just a report, okay, so I don't think the motion will be next meeting. Okay, so no motion on that, that's the nomination that we have, we'll vote on next meeting. All right, the next item we have is a resolution to approve and submit the 2024 Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire. That is by law, public boards have to submit this. So we've had it completed. Brian, who actually completes this? You do it or
I do it.
CPA? Okay, so Brian's completed it. It was emailed to everyone. This just basically identifies, who do we have on board as a CPA, and it answers some questions that the government asks every board to submit. So I'd like a motion to accept this and submit it to the state. So, motion by Banks, second by Hammond. Any discussion from board members, any questions? This is standard, may remember from past years. All right, any comment cards?
No.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. All right, next item on the agenda is our financial report. My treasurer.
As of January 31st, 2025, Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation has total assets of $18,087,800, current assets of $4.219 million, and the bulk of which is in the form of cash, $3.988 million in two accounts at JP Morgan Chase Bank. Net fixed assets total $1.199 million, and other assets include leases receivable are $12.242 million, and deferred outflow of pension resources of $423,000. On the liability side, Municipal Yacht Harbor Corporation had total liabilities of $13,567,700. $659,800 are current liabilities consisting mainly of accounts payable and accrued expenses of $122,400. Unearned revenues of $387,800, and creating sick leave and sick leave of $148,600. Long-term liabilities, this is the net pension liability of $899,900 and $12,007,900 for deferred info long-term basis. is initially opera corporation with total equity of $4.52 million, of which $4,020,200 is unrestricted net assets. For the month of January, the opera corporation has total revenues of $181,000, the total expenses of $157,400, which results in a net profit of $22,600. Purchase of occupancy is 95%.
All right, motion to accept the financial report.
Move that we accept the financial report.
Motion by Hammond, second by Banks. Any discussion, any questions? Any comment cards?
No?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, of course. All right, Director's report. Brian, please.
The update on the fishing pier, the notice to proceed to tuna construction is expected in February with work to start in March. Discussion about the blizzard that we had, we lost power to the west dock during the initial snowfall, the main breaker. The main 1600 amp three-phase breaker tripped, resulting lost power to the entire west side. The breaker was reset on Friday when the city of New Orleans gave the go-ahead to resume operations. I spoke with the electrician. They're going to come out and take a look at it and see if they can see any malfunctions with it. As of right now, it seems operated, although we don't know why properly. We did have one leak in the water system, which has been repaired, and there were no other issues. Staff, we looked at our costs and services provided on custodial and trash services, and we decided to ship these services in-house, so we're going to hire a facilities custodial worker, which we essentially would have full-time worker to provide a better level of service than we have. We're just started the process to do that now. The sale of boathouses, Boathouse 127 has been completely finalized and signed, and Boathouse 31 will be re-released for auction. The Wi-Fi is still partially operational. Cox has given no official updates, but they have contacted us a little bit saying they're working on it. It's Cox, I really don't know why it's not working, but it's not surprising. And we are realigning some of the antennas to be properly installed ourselves. A note on the West End's development. We have 2 community meetings scheduled. February 18th in Jefferson Parish at the East Bank Regional Library from 5 to 7 p.m. And on February 19th at Edward Hines Lakeview Gymnasium from 5 to 7 p.m. The brief agenda is just a welcome background. They'll do HRNA will be there to present a summary of market research. We'll go over project goals. There'll be a survey to get community input. We'll discuss next steps, and there'll be a spot for public comments. Councilmember Geruso and Jefferson Parish Councilmember Lichtenberg will be there. Potentially some other people, if their schedules allow, to present up-to-date relevant information from the report. We look forward to seeing everyone there. The meetings are basically going to be the same, so it makes sense just to pick one. But you're welcome to vote. West End development expenses. So far to date of 2025, we have $5,623 to spend payment, and that concludes the director's report.
Brian, any board members have any comments or questions?
For the fishing pier, with all the fighting that's going on about freezing FEMA grants, is our funding anywhere near any of that?
It's FEMA funded, but it was approved. So they'll tell us if they decide to.
My understanding is, I've looked at this in some other instances, it's already been awarded, it's done deal. About future stuff. If it gets reenacted. Any other questions?
Another question is, for a long time now, we've been trying to get the Wi-Fi, and it's been an ongoing problem for as long as I can remember. What seems to be the problem that we can never get it fully operational? I mean, there's always cots for someone doing work on it, and it's never been fully functional or this always seems to be work, and we've never got to an endpoint where it's functioning and we're done.
Well, it was recently installed finally by Cox. They installed the antennas, got 3/4 of them working. There's 8 different antennas. 6 of them were working, two of them weren't. They found out that their other installers that pulled cables damaged the lines, which were causing issues. I don't know if people remember, but whenever they turned it on, it turned off the internet for the entire West End area.
And I'm not
So-
pointing directly at you, but Cox, and I know I'm in a public meeting, be very careful how I say this.
Anybody
You
have
go ahead and
questions?
say it.
I'm disappointed, I guess, in the actual getting this done.
I
So who do
agree.
we speak to so that we can get quality work? So, I mean, this has been years at this point. You know, when does it become a priority and things actually?
One thing to note is the total cost, Cox paid for about 80% of it.
Okay.
So there's a limit in what I can say.
No, I
To
understand.
them.
I understand, and I'm grateful. I just, you want to get it done at this point. It's been years, and I'm
Fully
saying, hey,
agree.
listen, whomever we need to speak to try and just get all the hiccups out. And let's be done and put this behind us at this point.
I would echo the sentiment. Yeah, they pick up at 80% of cost because this is a very unusual setup, but they did it because it's going to sell us cable. I mean, service. It's like they give you the box for free because you're going to pay them $100 and something bucks a month.
Right, but it was
Anyway.
probably $50,000 to $60,000.
If they had said we're not providing. All right, yeah, it is frustrating. 2 things I'd like to touch on. Any other board members? Any comment cards?
No.
All right, 2 things I just want to touch on. Brian and I discussed. No.
I don't know if it's a proper time to bring it up, it's not on the agenda anywhere.
It's not, we can't discuss it, but why don't you hold on until we get to.
I'll hold off, yeah,
We'll get to.
when you get to a point, I can bring something up
on the rec, it's not something on the
Okay.
rec report. So I talked to Brian about future instances, if there's an emergency and the staff is not able to get here, to push our contract, we have contractors, to push them to come up. They may be able to respond where we can, right? And if we don't have people on staff who fix this electrical issue, but our contractor may be able to respond soon, because they want the business. So he said he'll try and do that in the future if they're available. And then the other thing is, I would encourage board members, if you're available, to try and make one of these public meetings and for everybody's benefit, so there's no confusion. We still have our usual crowd here, larger crowd that, we talked a lot about public meetings with this developer. Well, these are the first 2. And so this is a chance for people to go and have their input. There's not going to be, and I don't want to say this, it's going to discourage people from going there. You're not going to go expecting to see drawings and everything else. This is the first meeting to have input before they develop an RFQ. So this is HRNA's first report on what they've done, on their feasibility study. Everybody's been anxious to see. This is going to be their PowerPoint explanation, along with the council members. If anybody was here at last month's meeting, or you go look at last month's meeting, the Jefferson Parish Council and the City Board of New Orleans and the State Division of Administration have really taken this thing on, and they're passed legislation on the course of 2024 to allow this, and now they have a CEA they're working on that they've been bouncing around, and that's my understanding at this point, although it's not our baby, it's theirs, it's going back and forth between those 2, the Jefferson and Orleans, and now it's at the state, and they're gonna execute that, which will be the next step to moving forward to getting something concrete. So they're having these meetings. This is Hans Lynchburg, Council Member District 5 in Jefferson Parish, and Joe DeRusso, District A in New Orleans. This is their meetings. HRNA will be there to do this. We are part of this. Board members aren't required to be there, but I would encourage all to go and be present. Nobody's going to have to speak, but it's not our meeting, it's theirs. But I would encourage everyone to go and see this process. Once again, we hired through our attorneys, our consultants, HRNA, and one of the other things is this meeting's being executed, we're helping facilitate this. As we said, we would facilitate public meetings. So we, through our consultant, Stone Pigman, we have, got a group called, Earhart, is that, am I saying it right, Earhart? Organized Getting to Places, it's a public relations firm, right? They're getting to places, they're gonna facilitate the meeting, they're bringing the video, audio-visual equipment and everything. And so, you know, we have a hand in this, it's part of our, I guess I'll say our baby, right? So I would encourage everyone to try and attend. This is where stakeholders will be speaking, and although we'll get a report back on it, it would be nice for us to be there and hear it if you're available. So next week, 18th and 19th. All right. Thanks, Brian. All right. The Rules and Standards Committee did not meet. I don't have anything on the unfinished business. Economic Redevelopment Committee, we basically just talked about. And then the last would be the Quality of Life and Safety Committee. We met right before this. We had some concerns that I will be forwarding to Brian. They were about more cans on breakwater and them being empty more often. Maybe having more of the dog poop bag stations. Well, there was a valid point brought up that the people who ain't picking up after their dog's bag ain't gonna make them do it, that they're responsible. But I think it's something that we can do. Brian did address those, that you heard already, about it, bringing on a new custodial person as a permanent person. Talked a little bit about how our security people are deployed and how they drive and respond, and I have already sat and talked to Brian briefly, but I will go into depth with him on that. That was about all we had on there. So, you know, when the cans get empty, but all those points that were brought up, I will pass on to the staff. That's where they belong, you want to get them resolved. Any board members have any questions about the quality of life? Any comment cards?
None.
All right, I think at this point it might be Rick.
Yeah, I just said one thing, is we mentioned it a long time ago, but never did anything about it. I know our coffers are getting, or substantial, I mean, it's stable. We've got a problem down on Roadway, at our end, which is down by the sailing center, that the promenade, or sidewalk, if you want to call it, is so bad, people are tripping on it, and when we have a rainstorm, I have to take my shoes off and roll my pants up to get out of the house, because the concrete is so bad. And it's only 20 feet of concrete in front of each house, and there's about, just a,
20 houses. Well, 10 on our side,
but how many of ours would really need to?
about 10.
About 10 of us.
10.
Yeah, about 10 of us. That promenade needs to be looked at, straight, you know, the concrete needs to be straightened out. When I say I have to take my shoes off, I have to roll my pants up to my knees to walk out, because it's halfway up to my knee in front of my house. And we've got, you know, George Benedetto just bought the house next to him. He's an old guy, he's not gonna put up with that. And it's dangerous, because I see people tripping out there all the time, the concrete's so uneven. We talked and we decided that it's not the stakeholders' responsibility. I think I'm gonna talk about it here for a minute. Because our lease stops at the seawall, not the promenade. That was an old promenade that was built when the fountain was installed. That's why it's so wide down there.
Can I make a correction? Boathouse 127 is responsible for their sidewalk.
127.
That's the one
That's the one you just sold?
Yes.
Well, I don't know what they have in there. You know,
I'm just letting you know that the new lease.
the new lease, but I'm in the old lease,
I'm
and I've been there 19
I'm
years.
just trying
and
to
I've been putting
making
up
it
with
clear
it
that
for 19
you
years. I've got over
stated that
$50,000.
none of the tenants were responsible
Over
for the
19
sidewalk, and that
years.
was incorrect.
Here we know.
All right, so Rick, we'll look at it, we've talked about it, it is, not trying to shirk off on it right now.
No, it's fine.
Everywhere else in the city, and it's different out here than anywhere else, right?
If you own the
Rick, I'm
land,
not,
you're
Rick,
responsible
hold
for
on,
the
let me,
sidewalk.
Rick,
I don't
let me
own
talk,
the land.
Rick, I let you talk, you let other people talk, okay?
I'm sorry.
Alright, that the property owner is responsible for the sidewalk, that's everywhere else in the city. So whether we are or y'all are, at the end of the day, it's something that probably need to get addressed one way or the other. But I understand it's a lease, and it's not like a traditional property. But you also get homestead exemptions on taxes and stuff, similar to other people. So it is a question, and we need to look at what the cost would be, and is it something we'll take on? I wanted to ask, the flooding you talked about, how long does the water stay once the rain stops?
Day, sometimes day and a half. You know, it doesn't drain to the street, it drains back to the boathouse. Because of the trees, the land has come up between the street and the.
I'm just trying to think it through, because
Yeah,
we don't have drainage out here, we're outside.
no, it's not gonna go to the drain, it has to
Might be able to
drop.
fix the sidewalk, but not fix the flooding easement.
No, it just needs to be tilted and straightened out. Each slab is at a different angle. You know, we're in New Orleans, and there's trees underneath that push the thing up. And the city came out and tore up that piece because they had a work order. They thought there was a leak. That was years ago. And Hard Rock came out as a contractor and made it worse. They put in a new slab, but they pointed it back toward the house instead of toward the street. And it's deep. I mean, sometimes I jump up on the seawall and have to walk down to a drier spot to get out. But I'm getting too old to jump up on the seawall.
Oh, no. All right, any board members?
I'd just like to comment that if you look at the seawall, it's about this much painted, that the sidewalk has subsided. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
It's just the tree roots that pushed it up on the street side and angled it back toward the house. But that's just different, and the slabs are at different
All right,
angles.
we're not-
I don't want to be sued either if somebody trips and falls.
I got it. Everybody had an opportunity to talk.
Yeah, if I may.
Have a caller.
I do. Certainly,
Name,
this,
please.
I'm sorry, Kerry Kutchum, the President Boathouse Owners Association, I live in Boathouse 81. Certainly this problem, and it's very acute to them, is not the only problem that exists at West End Park from the standpoint of an infrastructure. If moving forward, we're looking to revive West End Park to make it accessible and usable by the general public. So what I would suggest and ask that the board consider is that at some point in time, you're going to be looking at those things, whether it be filling in some land because we have low spots in West End Park, and that's been discussed, repairing the sidewalks in West End Park, working on the pond in West End Park, that this be included in the overall kind of view, and perhaps y'all look at what can be done and in stages, moving towards making the entire area something that is attractive and usable by not only the people who live here, but the general public. So I would think, ask to look at it in that kind of broader perspective.
Tim, when I ride my bike out here, the pond, if you want to call it that, has green, and unless it really rains hard, it stays forever. So there's a need to put some kind of, what do you call that?
Some aerated.
Aerated. And if you don't put any kind of aerated, it's going to stay there. And they used to have one, they haven't had one at least for a couple of years.
It's been a long time.
There is a real need for that, because that pond has a tendency, it does it, probably mosquitoes, etc.
All right, any board members? Any questions? All right. The last item we have is, a resolution thanking Dr. Monica Criddle, which you've been able to make it tonight. This was her last meeting where she's on the board. She was not reappointed at her decision. I think I said it last meeting, got a great board member, but she's got a lot going on with her job. She's principal of the school, and they're building a brand new school on her campus. So she asked that she not be reappointed. So resolution, thank you, Dr. Montecredit, whereas the Municipal Yacht Harbor is a public benefit corporation of New Orleans, which leases from the city of New Orleans the property rights at West End, whereas responsible for operation and management of the city's assets at West End, and whereas Dr. Montecredit has been volunteering actively at the Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation as a member of the board of directors of the Municipal Yacht Harbor, whereas Dr. Montecredit has worked very closely with the Municipal Yacht Harbor board and staff, providing consistent and uninterrupted dedication to the Municipal Yacht Harbor. Now therefore, resolved, the Board of Directors of the Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation expresses heartfelt thanks to Dr. Montecredit for her service, leadership, and guidance that she provided to the Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation this day, March 12th. February 11th, 2024. February 11th, 2025. I see what you did. That's the last time somebody left the board. All right, anyway, and then it'll be signed on the board. So I want to thank you for your service, and it is a good time to point out that everybody here who serves does so as a volunteer. And I want to thank everyone for their time and energy. A motion to adjourn.
Tim, you need a motion to accept that resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry, motion to accept the resolution, thank you, Dr. Cripple.
So we would,
Watkins and Banks. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. All right, motion to adjourn. Oh, thank you. Always forget to do that. The next meeting will be, that's my agenda,
March 11th.
March 11th, 2025. Week after the Tuesday after Mardi Gras, should be recovered by now. 6:30 at this location. Now a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion for adjournment.
Hammond and Banks. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you all being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
Thank
your
the board.
participation.